This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. The following Care Lab podcast does not provide health or medical advice. All content is provided for information purposes only. Listeners are encouraged to speak with their healthcare provider for specific healthcare advice and are wholly responsible for the outcome of implementing any tips or information presented.
Welcome to Care Lab, everybody.
Care Lab. Woohoo! Care Lab Day.
I know, and I'm super excited because we get to have such a great conversation. I'm speaking it into existence already with Nicole, the founder of Springrose. Welcome to Care Lab Podcast. Let me tell the people why you're awesome. Nicole is a social entrepreneur, passionate about using design thinking to develop inclusive solutions, which is like Brandy written all over it. She's the founder and CEO of Springrose, which is a startup that's designing adaptive, intimate apparel named in honor of her grandmother Rose, who had chronic pain and arthritis. Nicole started the company in 2020 while at Northwestern in a dual degree master's program. And prior to Kellogg, Nicole worked at Deloitte Consulting on design thinking. And so this is where all of this comes together, doing strategy projects for government and nonprofit clients. And her projects focus on designing and informing solutions, policies, and programs for underserved constituent groups, which I'm pretty sure is where the social entrepreneurship comes in. She has an undergraduate degree in business and entrepreneurship from Brown, and where she learned to love entrepreneurship and began her initial research into Springrose. So, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us on Care Lab.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome. Mm-hmm. I have to say, I've been really looking forward to this conversation because I think we're going to talk about topics that people don't think about a lot of the time, but actually end up being really important for like how people think of themselves, as well as how they feel like they can move through the world. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. So thank you for being here. But as always, first, before we talk about the real thing, we need to have a serious conversation about something that is not serious at all. So I have a question for you both. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. So, and Nicole, I'll tell you, you're going to have to go first because we're not very polite and we always put our guests on the spot. We are not good hosts in that way. So just prepare yourself. So if you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation. 100%.
I love it.
Why?
Well, okay. So one, I can visit my family at any time, which is really nice because then I can live anywhere. Same thing with friends. Mm-hmm. Two, if I want to wake up one day and get a croissant in France, I can just bop on over, buy myself a croissant, and come back home. And I live in New York and I hate the subway. It breaks all the time. So it'd be nice to just go to where I need to go and not waste time in between. But yeah, just feels like the best superpower.
It literally is the best superpower. And normally I would change an answer so not have the same answer as somebody else. But I'm not changing my answer because teleportation is also my answer. Like it would be just so much better if we could get from point A to point B like that. I'm not really caring about how that happens. I don't know anything about the technology or how we would do that. But if that could be my superpower, it would be awesome. Like my son the other day was like, it'd be really great if we could just teleport over to here instead of drive for 4 hours. And I was like, you're right. It would be really great. And you're young enough that maybe you can, or somebody in your generation can come up with a solution for that. Keep that in your mind, sir. So yeah, I'm with it.
Transporter technology from Star Trek. It's coming sometime.
Everything that happens in sci-fi movies eventually comes true. Pretty much.
It's true. Here's the thing about transporter technology in Star Trek, though. And some people are about to learn what a nerd I am, which I have my husband to thank for, because he's a huge Star Trek fan, and I've watched a lot because of that. And I will say it's pretty enjoyable. When you use the transporter, you are disintegrated, and then the computer like basically makes a map of your disintegrated parts, and then you are put back together using similar parts wherever you're going. Not the same. It is not transporting your molecules. It's actually taking you all. So you're
Cloning you.
dying. Yes, and then basically cloning you and somehow bringing your consciousness along with that in the place where you're going with basically the same materials, but not the exact materials that you were made of before. So
I mean, if it could lose a little fat cells on the way, I wouldn't be mad about that.
see, I feel like they could use this to their advantage in so many different ways. Some episodes they do. But anyway, those are both. So, okay, couple of things before I actually give my answer. I think this is so interesting that so many people choose teleportation, because mine is a version of teleportation. It's not that. Mine is to be able to make portals so that I can take anything that I want with me, like anything and anyone I want can also go to the place where I want to go, which I shamelessly stole that from my son because I thought it was such a good idea. But I feel like everyone used to say, "Oh, I would fly or I would be invisible." No one says that anymore. Why not?
Why do you want to be up cold in the sky? Like what?
That's
What benefit
actually
is that?
We
that's
always
exactly
have a
how
way
I
of
feel
flying.
about
We
it.
can just get on a plane. Like, it still takes time. Like, it's not
And
teleportation, it's flying.
and feels uncomfortable, I think.
It's cold, it's
A
windy,
lot of core strength required.
probably.
It's like constant Pilates, but in freezing low oxygen environments.
Yeah, seems
I
so
mean, we're
appealing.
talking superpowers. Let's think big, right?
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, is there anything better than just being able to go wherever you want, whenever you want?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that's really like the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Nicole, why don't you tell the people why you're really here? And can you take us a little bit through the process of getting to Springrose? So, like, what is it, and how did you get to do this? Because it's named after you're naming it after your grandmother, so I know it has lots of meaning to you.
Yeah. I had the idea for Springrose in 2015. And so for people who don't know what we do, we create adaptive intimate apparel. That just means easy on intimate apparel if you have any form of limited mobility. And we started with bras because it was the biggest pain point, but we're expanding to underwear and other categories. My grandmother, Rose, was an unstoppable woman. She was incredibly capable, independent, full of life. And she also had chronic pain. You age, things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't age, a lot of people are born with chronic pain or get a condition in their 20s or 30s or 40s. But she wasn't the type to complain about it. It was just her life. She just lived with it, dealt with it, moved along. But when I found out that it was very difficult and painful for her to get dressed in the morning, and particularly to put on her bra, that to me felt absurd. It felt like such an indignity because it's a basic everyday item. Why is a thing causing you pain? I understand if your body has something going on and that's causing you pain, and maybe you have medication or you don't, but for a tool, for an item to be causing you pain, that just seems unhinged. Like, why is that allowed to exist? And at the time, I thought she just wasn't great at searching online. She just couldn't shop online. This was, again, 2015. E-com was more of a thing. She used to write her emails in all caps. I was like, I'll just search for her. And I went to brick and mortar stores. I looked online and I couldn't find any options that were adaptive so that they were functional with her chronic pain and her arthritis. And I also couldn't find any options that were comfortable, size inclusive, and pretty. I was 20 at the time. Yes, I was 20 at the time. And I just thought about it. Like, if I get any form of limited mobility, if I get an injury, an illness, a disability, or if I'm just older, I'm aging, I don't want my options to be restricted because the industry is so focused on 15-year-olds and 20-year-olds. I want to always have a choice, and a choice that feels good to me. Because while some people will see fashion as something superfluous, clothing makes a difference. It makes you feel good about yourself. It preps you for your day. It really impacts your mental health and mood and happiness. And so to me, it's important for people to have choice and then to have options that don't feel like a compromise. It's not like, oh, I have either something functional or something pretty, or something pretty or something comfortable. Why can't you just have it all together so that it integrates seamlessly into your life? And that at least was the starting point for Springrose. My background professionally is in human-centered design, as you kindly mentioned, Brandy. And that to me means I'm trying to design for other people. I want to create what they want, not what I want. And so I started by interviewing and surveying as many women as I could, and from there extracted what they were telling me, made sense of it in a larger context, and created our first product.
Hey there, it's Emilia. Listen, I am so thrilled to have a great resource like Ask Sammy as part of the Care Lab team, and here's why. It's a game changer for aging in place because it makes it so simple. All you do is ask. Just type in your question or even tell Sammy what the problem is and get tailored solutions. Everything from innovative adaptive equipment to comprehensive resources. It's a great way to become more empowered, to live more independently, and to live with greater confidence. And my favorite thing about how Ask Sammy works is it's deeply rooted in dignity and practicality. So whether you're a fellow therapist, a care partner, or someone who's seeking solutions for themselves, visit www.asksammy.com. We're going to link it in the show notes so you can find it there. Start making home more accessible today. Now, back to the show. I have a story to tell to sort of, and I'm sure that there's a question that goes along with this, but like, I think it's so important, the point that you made in true form. I think it's so important, this point that you make, that clothing is not just a utilitarian thing that we use to keep us warm or to like support our function. Clothing is, and of course, depending on the person, clothing is incredibly important to how people identify themselves, how people feel dignified or versus embarrassed. And especially like intimate apparel, I think is something, it's one of the first things that women will often stop doing because it makes it it's just too hard to do, right? Bras are the hardest thing, honestly. And so bras and socks a lot of the time. So not being able to put on a bra, though, as a woman makes it so maybe you don't feel comfortable going out in public. Maybe you don't feel comfortable going out to lunch with your friends. So it can lead to social isolation, physical isolation, all kinds of things, not to mention just how someone feels about themselves. And I will never forget, I was working in skilled nursing. This is years and years ago now. But there was a patient that I was seeing and that a physical therapist was also treating. And the PT came up to me and said, I just can't figure out why this patient won't go to the dining room for lunch. Like, she's on a walk to dine program. I don't understand why she won't do it. Like, she can do it. And I said, well, listen, she's not to the point where she's able to dress yet. And she's not yet to the point where she's not doing her makeup. Like, these are important things. Eating is a social activity. It's not a walking activity. It's a social activity. So let's work instead. Like, let's focus on getting her being able to make herself look the way that she wants to look for this activity. And then I'm going to guess she'll be happy to do the Walk to Dine program. But it was like such a mind-blowing thing for him to hear that. But I think it's a really good example of how these things really do impact how people live their lives. So I think it's so amazing that you have taken the time to develop products in this area like this.
Thank you. To your point, I do get stories similarly where, for example, I just had a customer email me 2 days ago and say, I'm so excited so we're working on a larger cup version of our current product that would fit her better than what we have right now. And she was just saying, thank you so much, because I've sat on the edge of my bed so many times in tears because I can't put on my own bra and I don't want to ask my adult son. Like that is just stripping of your dignity and of your independence in a way where, sure, maybe you'll ask for help with your shirt or a hat or something else, but something as basic and personal as your intimate apparel is ideally something that you either want to do yourself or you want to have somebody you trust a lot that you don't feel that level of discomfort with in helping you. And it really does stop people, unfortunately, from living important parts of their life, which to us, it's interesting because our purpose as a company is to help women thrive. And to me, that is, how do we remove those barriers that get in the way of people being able to do the activities they want to, see the people they want to, and live the life that they envision for themselves.
I think what both of you are saying is really that everybody needs a foundation to launch from. And you can't do any new things unless you feel comfortable and confident in your foundation. And so that's why this is just so important.
Do you feel like, and this is maybe a question for both of you, how do you feel like, or what kind of stories have you heard about how this kind of product or this kind of situation just in general impacts the care relationships that people have with their family and their care partners? And Nicole, I think you kind of alluded to this earlier, but I think it's a really important point to kind of expand upon.
Yeah, so from our side, we seek to give women back their independence because our products are narrow bras, so they're generally only for people who have breasts. And so for us, it's like, okay, maybe this caregiver or family member, whoever it is, helps you in other aspects of your life, but maybe now you can actually start dressing yourself again, or at least doing these very basic personal things yourself again, and reduce that friction potentially in the relationship. Or even if you still do need assistance from a loved one or a caregiver to put on the bra, it makes it much faster. And so again, it reduces some of that tension and emotional heaviness that can sometimes come from getting assistance from somebody else, depending how you are connected to them.
You know, the interesting thing about that is like, I was just telling Nicole that in OT Practice, which is like the magazine that comes out for occupational therapists, there is an article in there called "The Cool Factor Goes a Long Way: Sexual Health Adaptive Equipment." And so we've been all talking about putting the bra on, but the OT that mentioned Springrose actually by name in that article was talking about taking the bra off and how it was impacting her client's ability to have better and more frequent intimacy periods of time with her husband. And so like the story just really expresses how like you don't think about these things, but when it does impact you, it actually really does impact you. And to just say like, don't wear a bra or have them help you take it off or just be flippant about it and like not actually deal with it is like pretty dehumanizing, I would say. Because because we take so much for granted, I guess is what I'm saying. And it's just really easy, especially to be a caregiver and say to a mother, you know, like, hey, this is a challenge for us to put on together. Let's just not do it. And then the parent the mother feeling like, I don't want to go to the doctor's appointment looking like this, you know, and the kid says, oh, it's fine. But they don't feel good about themselves, you know. So I think it's important both ways around and impacts, you know, so many different areas of our lives.
What do you think, Nicole, in like developing the products, what was the most challenging part of that? Or what's like kind of the most ongoing, maybe even challenging part of making sure that these products are really going to work and function the way that the end user needs to?
Everything. I came into this not knowing anything about apparel design, manufacturing, production, nothing, literally nothing. And so what was challenging at the beginning was just making sure the functionality was going to work. So we spent 2 years on that, just interviewing, testing with women, sending it to OTs and PTs and making sure that they were testing with their patients, getting feedback. So we went through a lot of iterations. Every little piece of the product is designed because of the feedback we got from either users or me watching people struggle in a certain way. So every little detail was thought out. So from the functional perspective, it works, right? That we over-indexed on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you need to also ask people the right questions to get the right answers at times. So for example, when I sent it to people, all the questions I asked were like, is it comfortable and does it work for you? And the answers are generally yes. And for some people it didn't. And so we're making other products for them. But for the most part, it worked. Great. Now, all the Facebook comments again are about like part of the style. So there's a seam down the cup. The seam allows the cup construction for to create volume. Basically, it allows the breast to sit there because it's a wireless product. We want it to have lift. And so you need basically to have the seam to allow for the breast tissue to sit there. Did anybody in 2.5 years of development and testing ever mention the seam down the cup? No, not a single person. And yet it's like half of our Facebook comments are like, ooh, but that seam. Yeah. So we're working on it. We're actually changing the construction of the cup to address some of those comments. And again, it's not even the customers that are talking about that. It's people on the internet. But it was just something interesting in my learning, at least, of like, I over-index on the functionality and the comfort because that's what was really important to the user, and didn't ask the right questions to understand, does this fit all of your expectations, not just the comfort and the functionality.
That's super interesting. I'm really curious because this is also a fashion product as well as a functional product. What kind of reactions you've gotten from the rest of like the traditional fashion or intimate apparel industry, or if you have gotten reactions, like, do people kind of give you side eye and be like, what are you doing? I don't understand this. Or like, how has that gone down?
It's been very interesting because generally when I say, oh, we make adaptive apparel, people are imagining this like old school medical looking thing that's just like white and shapeless. And so when I show them a picture, or I send them a video, or we're chatting and I show it to them, almost everybody's reaction is like, oh, wait, it's cute. It's nice. It's these things. And it's like, yeah, that's the point. What were you imagining? And so I think because there's been this historical lack of innovation in the space, lack of solutions, and just a very medical focus on it, that is what is ingrained in people's heads. And so they're quite shocked and surprised when I show them what our product actually looks like and that we cared about the aesthetic as well. But it is a growing space. And so it's exciting to see that people and retailers are starting to care more and more about it.
Care Lab listeners, it's Brandy, and as the founder of a platform made to make aging in place easier for everyone, I knew it would be incomplete if we did not have education, especially for caregivers. So whether you're a family caregiver or somebody who trains a whole organization, Higher Standards caregiver training videos are for you. I'm so proud that we were able to partner together with Emilia in order to provide these to you because they're easy for everybody. You get great occupational therapist-led training on topics like transfers and how to care for someone as they age, or maybe as things change when you have Parkinson's. So no matter if you're the loved one who doesn't know exactly what to do next because things are getting different, or if you're a professional who trains caregivers that go into the community and you need some quality education, you get both from Higher Standards Caregiver Training. And you need to check them out at higherstandardscaregivertraining.com.
So I want to dig in a little bit to like your design history, because we just recently had a conversation with Dan, the CEO of Silvertree, and we talked a lot about design and how took a very similar process to you with the fall alert button by making it also look nice and feel good and be functional. And so because I see these themes between the two brands, my question is like from like school perspective, why is there such a disconnect between like something can be functional or it can be nice looking, right? Like do you feel like that's a thing that is being taught in design school, or that we have to sacrifice one for the other? And maybe an easier question is, do you see this changing in other industries or other places that you pay attention to, and why?
I think two things. So one, no, that is not being taught in design school. Generally, nobody in
Okay.
design school is like, ignore the pretty. That not a thing. I think on one hand, the people that have historically been designing these products have not incorporated the perspectives of the people using it. And so they're just thinking about it from a functional perspective. What does this have to do? And so if you don't
Mm-hmm.
ask the customer, if you're not involving the user in the development and design process and the research process, they're not going to get these perspectives. They're just going to be like, well, we are tasked with this functional thing, solving this problem, and we're going to solve it fastest, easiest, cheapest way possible. Not necessarily thinking about like desirability. Does a user want to use this? Is it going to be something that people share with their friends because they love the experience or they love using it? And then on that somewhat same token, it depends who you're having design it, particularly for something like a help button. It's engineering based. I would say most engineers are not known for their aesthetic sense. And so if you are not creating a multidisciplinary, no way.
Jaw dropping, drop the mic.
Revolutionary perspective. If you are not creating multidisciplinary teams, if you're not combining a design person with an engineer, with a user experience researcher, if you're not bringing these people with different perspectives and skills together, and you're just having the technical person build it, it will most likely not be something people are too excited about. And that's not their fault. It's just not in their wheelhouse. So you have to be creating teams thoughtfully to bring these innovations to life in a way that is functional and desirable.
So if someone wanted to like look at your products, get hands on a product, like where's the best place for them to go? How would they do that?
Yeah, so we currently sell on our website, which is springrose.co, spring like the season, rose like the flower, my grandmother, .co. Although soon we'll hopefully be on y'all's marketplace. But yeah, so right now we just sell to our website. If you are a veteran, you can ask your clinician at the VA hospitals to get you one through Pisces Healthcare Solutions.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're trying to find ways to make it more financially accessible for everybody as much as possible. The system's a little bit rigged against us because healthcare is not quite known for its innovative perspective on women's health and coverage.
Definitely.
But we're fighting the good fight, so hopefully
it's news
we
to
can
me.
increase coverage. Yeah.
JK.
Hopefully we can keep
Not
on making
really.
the product more accessible through different healthcare systems for people, particularly lower income people, because it's something you need for an activity of daily living. It should be covered.
Yeah, I will get in my little soapbox at this moment because you're exactly right. But because it's beautiful and awesome, and I can wear it and benefit from it just as well as somebody who has only one hand to work with. It is not durable medical equipment. And so this is just which means it's not covered by insurance in traditional ways. And so this is just another 100 million reasons why we need to change the definition of durable medical equipment and expand it to include things to actually do what you just said, help with activities of daily living, as opposed to only being required for somebody, particularly because of their diagnosis. Because it's foundational. So my question for you is where, so you intentionally said the definition of Springrose is for intimate apparel. We've been talking about a bra. This is not the only thing that y'all do, and I'm assuming it's not the only thing you will do in the future. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my goal is to transition from intimates, which is just bras, underwear, to innerwear. So that is intimates, swim, and sport. Anything that is basically the
Mm.
first layer you have on your skin is something we want to help provide support. There's several companies already trying to make jackets and pants and outerwear, and so for me, it's where is there still need in the market, and that's
Mm-hmm.
in um, intimates, swim, and sport. And we have so many designs. We have so many cool things. I can't even talk about them because they're not ready yet. But we have a lot of things coming up. It just takes a little bit of time to get everything made and launched, and we're a small business, so there's a few hurdles, but that is the direction we're going in.
That is really, really exciting. I think talking about swimwear and like sporting wear for people of all abilities is like that's a really big deal. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's just I don't have anything more to say, but like that's a very big deal. I'm really excited about that. When those things are ready, would you come back and talk to us again? Because I really, really would love to highlight that and show some things off.
Of course, anytime you call, I will be here. um, it's yeah, and particularly swim I'm really excited about because it's not only exercise, which is very beneficial, and for certain conditions, it's way easier and lower impact than if you were doing something with full gravity on land,
Yep.
but
Yep.
also so many activities that revolve around water are social activities. And so for people to be able to fully participate in those with their family, with their friends, and just be more social and get a lot of those benefits that come from having connections and social groups is it's just another level of happiness, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. And like, I just want to like, I'm gonna just go through this whole thing so people can see how ridiculous this is. So let's say you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have a lot of pain. I give you pain medication. We all know that pain medication is a challenge, and we don't want to be on all the time. So then the next thing we think of is what are other ways we can manage that pain? One of those ways is being in the water, right? Whether it's being in warm water, if that works for you and it's not overwhelming to your arthritis, or it's being in the pool so you can walk without the gravity, right? So we say, okay, go to aquatic therapy or go to swim, right? And then all these community centers take senior silver sneakers, and your insurance can pay for the senior center and going in the water. And that's great. But then you go to the locker room, and now you're supposed to get dressed, and you can't put on a swimsuit. So you've thought through this because this is your body and your life, and these recommendations that people are just throwing at you. And then you're like, well, I can't get a swimsuit on, or it's going to take me a really long time to do it, and it's going to require a whole lot of pain and effort. So I'm just not going to do it. And then you go back to your doctor, and doctor says, how is all this stuff going? And you're like, well, I don't do it. And they don't have the time, nor do they probably get, mostly they just don't have the time to like dig into that to get to the point is, I can't get the swimsuit on. And therefore, I'm not going to be embarrassed and be stuck in a locker room and ask a stranger to help me get this
Yeah.
swimsuit on or off. And so I'm just not going to do the task. Do you see how like it's such a cascade of things, and people are only always thinking about the top level and not like the underlying causes of the things. And so that's why this is like so important. Even though people want to say it's like, don't, I mean, we act like it's unimportant and we only think about the higher level things. And it's just so important. I just can't say that any more times. Even like the same thing that you said about wearing a bra. Like if you don't feel comfortable not wearing a bra and you don't go out and you don't communicate with others and then you get isolated and you get depressed and then you're in your house, you're moving less. It's just a cascade, and it all starts with your foundation. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's super encouraging to me that your whole mission is to help us with that foundation.
Yeah, I think, and
So
I
thank
think
you.
like the way that you kind of laid that out and phrased it, Brandy, is just a good example of how like we're we're really used to, unfortunately, like blaming people when they don't do what we tell them that they're supposed to do, right? But
Mm-hmm.
very rarely do we get to the underlying cause of why this person didn't actually do the thing that was recommended for them. And if you just take a few minutes to really talk with people and get to the bottom of it, a lot of times you can identify that, it's usually a totally reasonable explanation, where if you think about it, you're like, oh, I would feel the same way about that. I totally get that. And then you can go and come up with a solution for it. I think that the example of swimwear in particular is one where there really have not been good solutions, though. Like, let's face it, it's just hard to get on. I don't like putting on my swimsuit because it's a pain, honestly. Like, if I'm not going to be in that sucker all day, sorry. It's not because it's a pain. It's not happening. I'm not getting in the pool for 30 minutes. I don't know where you would go and get in a pool for only 30 minutes, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this better be an all day event if I'm going to bother dealing with that thing. So I think that that particular area of swimwear and sportswear as well are places where there haven't been great, easy solutions that can be implemented for folks. So like I said, I think it's really, really exciting that you're thinking about all of these things and developing solutions. And I genuinely know that this is the kind of thing that will change people's lives.
We hope so. We were talking, I was talking with an aquatic therapist and interviewing her about working with patients and the dressing needs. And she was saying they do 4 hours. They allot 4 hours for every patient. So it's 1 hour of, I think it's like PT, or it's like 1 hour of OT, 1 hour of aquatic therapy, an hour for them to get undressed and change into dry clothing, because that's how much time oftentimes them or their caregivers need to get them out of the tight, wet swimsuit, and then an hour of speech. And so now not only are you spending an extra hour struggling to get dressed, you're also spending an extra hour of the caregiver's time, which is often a family member. It increases the burden on them in their own life, and it's just worse all around. Like it impacts everyone.
Yeah.
Well, we're really excited about everything that you're doing at Springrose. Can't wait to hear more about it as you continue to develop more products. Folks know where they can find you. Anything else that I feel like we kind of care lab this. Anything else we need to cover, you think, Brandy or Nicole, before we wrap it up here?
No, the answer is buy Springrose, and hopefully it'll be on Ask Amy soon, and you get it from there too. And this problem is solved. Call it Care Lab and checked off.
All right. Okay. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you leave a review, leave a comment, make sure you're subscribing and liking. Those are all the best ways to make sure that other people who are looking for this kind of information and content are able to find this information and content. Also, subscribing is a great way to make sure that you know just when our next episode drops, which is, by the way, every Friday. Until next time, we'll see you right here on Care Lab. Bye.
Bye.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.